Something I've been thinking about recently is the nature of overhyping episodes. Whenever you get that look at the list of upcoming episodes in a TV series, and it doesn't give a description of what's going to happen in the episode, or maybe it does, and you're going off of just what's on that list, you try to figure out what will happen in this episode based on title and based on the synopsis if one is. And when you try to go by that information and maybe whatever clips were available during the promos, your imagination cooks up plots that are potentially more interesting than the episode itself. And as you hype the episode up for yourself, it can do one of two things. It can either lead you to a very satisfying experience of having called it and been right about the episode and right about your predictions, or it can lead you to the disappointment of your predictions not coming true and your imagination having created a superior episode. I could go into countless examples of how predictions can blow things out of proportion and how rumors spread and how you can be disappointed by stuff that never happens within the series or the movie or whatever situation you're in. But let me make up a example situation for this particular topic. It is right now April 24th, 2015, as of the day of this recording. And spoilers, I'm going to make a prediction based on an upcoming My Little Pony episode title, The Lost Treasure of the Griffins, or something of that nature was the title. With the title Lost Treasure and the word Griffin in the title, it makes me think of a couple of things. One, Lost Treasure makes me think of Daring Do. Griffins makes me think of Gilda. Griffins also makes me think of the possibility of having Griffins in the episode, learning more about Griffins, going to a place populated heavily by Griffins, learning more about Griffin culture, going to the Griffin Kingdom specifically, and just having all kinds of fun adventure. If any of these things don't happen, that means my prediction was wrong, and it will ruin my enjoyability of the episode. My predictions were right, then I'll get to say first that I was right about my predictions, and I'll get to brag and have some fun with it and enjoy the episode. Predictions can be funny that way. They can be fun when they're good, but they can lead you to overhyped and over expectations when they're wrong. Some other examples would include things like going into the live action movie The Last Airbender, and from the advertisements and from limited knowledge of the series, thinking it was going to be a good experience because you only saw clips of the best parts of it, and then being disappointed when the movie doesn't meet the expectations that you set for yourself because you set the bar too high. When you go into a movie with lowered expectations, sometimes you can be happy that the movie surpassed those expectations even if it wasn't a good movie, because it was better than you were expecting. In the case of the Mortal Kombat movie, it didn't matter to me as a kid what the quality of the plot was or what the writing was, as long as all of the characters I knew were in it and their costumes were accurate. That was the only qualification I wanted for this movie. Like the Star Trek reboot movie, like Star Wars The Phantom Menace. You have years of fan fictions, novels, video games, expanded universe stuff, fan theories, all sorts of ideas brewing around, especially with Star Wars prequel. And in the case of the Star Trek reboot, you have knowledge of the entire franchise. The actors look like, what they sound like, all building up expectations. And whether the movies meet those expectations or not is a contributor to your enjoyment of that movie. And in the case of Star Wars, having too many novels and fan theories about what to expect from the movie led to a less enjoyable experience because of the long list of ideas that didn't happen. It's an interesting phenomenon when it comes to watching movies. How much do you spoil yourself on? How much do you hype the movie up? How much do you go into it? Another interesting case is Night at the Museum 2. When the trailers for that came out, a lot of the clips in the trailers were deleted scenes, and those clips never happened in the story, so they didn't contribute anything. In the case of Star Wars Episode 7, the clips aren't revealing any major plot points. You're just seeing action scenes and starships and characters that you already know will be in the movie. You're not having the plot spoiled. Sometimes in a movie, the trailer will spoil the plot, and you will know which characters survive through which situations because there's that one scene in the trailer that you're waiting to still happen in the movie, and until that scene happens, you're not worried about the characters being killed off before the scene from the trailer. And when that scene finally happens, you'll be so expecting it, so overexposed to that sequence that it's no longer a surprise. Going back to My Little Pony again, we spent so much time exposing ourselves to content of the Eatlist Village that when the Eatlist Village finally came up, it wasn't a shock to us to see the Eatlized ponies. And then there was also all these fan theories about seeing these little sparks of color flying around and people deducing through logic and intelligence that these sparks represented Luna, Discord, and Celestia being summoned and arriving. And that didn't happen. What those sparks were cutie marks being returned to ponies who had formerly been utilized. So yeah, sometimes the story that remains in our heads, the one that never happens, can be the more interesting journey. I'm sort of talking around in circles now, but I guess what I'm saying is that sometimes it's good to hype things up and spoil yourself and go along on that exciting ride of will this happen or will that happen, and enjoy the speculations. Other times it's far better to go in completely blind and know nothing about what you're expecting so that everything is a surprise. There's a lot of people who do blind My Little Pony reactions, and I love seeing them watch Magical Mystery Cure with absolutely no idea at all that Twilight is going to get her wings and become an Alicorn princess. And when they see her zapped by the elements of harmony and disintegrated, there's legitimate shock and confusion in that moment. Where for everyone who is spoiled by Hasbro and its toy line, they all knew this was just a moment where she gets her wings, and it wasn't a big deal, and they were just waiting for it to happen. So when you're promoting your stuff, I think it does work out better a lot when it's more blind, more of a blind experience, more of a lowered expectations experience to go in knowing the least, expecting the least. But it's a lot more fun to create stories in your head and see if the writers are writing the same script that your imagination is. And just to say the most insane, impossible theories, and to come up with ideas like Fluttershy having a giant mecha robot battle, or something like that. Just to say the most ridiculous thing that will never happen to see if it happens. There can be a great deal of fun in that. It's really one of those things that can go any number of ways. I'd be interested to hear your opinions on this rather rambly subject, and I'm sorry to talk without taking sides or having a real point, but I just wanted to have a topic to fill up my schedule before I get started on the real deep stuff. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and good night. So begin now your speculations on my next series of episodes. I'm going to be, spoiler warning, discussing ponies and other TV shows and other fictional characters that remind me of the ponies. Put your speculations in the comments as well.